Another massive thing that's been sort of knocking around the internet is all like YouTubers releasing products.
Yes.
And I know you've spoken on some of this stuff previously, but would love to pick your brain a little bit about it and your thoughts on YouTubers bringing out. I mean, the latest one is obviously Lunchly. That seems to be a popular one, but
It's getting people really
Riled
emotional.
Yeah, people are getting really hyped up. And I spoke about it on the podcast.
Positive or negative?
I sort of defended it in the sense that I thought that the reaction to it was completely overblown. Purely because I felt as though, why is it that everybody holds YouTubers to some sort of crazy standard versus all these other big companies that exist that have endorsed celebrities since God knows when. But the moment a YouTuber does it, it's they're like, oh, this is infinitely worse.
Sure.
And then you also look at someone like Kai Cenat, who recently did a partnership with McDonald's. And it's like, I've got no problem with that. And I actually think a lot of the responsibility lies with the parents. Particularly like, something like Lunchly is targeted obviously towards a younger audience. And I think as a parent, it's your responsibility there to say, no, you don't actually want this. Or sure you can have it once a week or whatever that is. So I always feel as though that direction towards YouTubers always just feels a little bit misplaced, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
I'll play a little devil's advocate so
Please
we can have a cool interaction with this. For YouTubers getting hate for their products, I don't think that's necessarily true. When Jimmy or Mr. Beast put out Feastables, were there people angry that he made candy where kids shouldn't be eating candy?
No,
the direction wasn't like it.
But his whole thing was about it being a healthier alternative, and I get that it's...
You mean with Lunchly? Because the whole thing with Lunchly was that it was marketed as a healthier version of Lunchables.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think that's where the biggest anger came from, that there's a claim being made that it's healthier, which is very limited if you're going to even say it's healthier. And when you put a claim that something is healthier, you're encouraging young people to want it more than other foods. And with how influential YouTubers are, that's what we are, we're influencers. There should be a little bit of integrity there where you're like, if I'm going to be influential, I got to make sure I tell the truth and then I'm guiding in the right direction. So I think that's where the combination of all three things came from. Whereas if they made Lunchly and they said, hey, ours is way more fun than Lunchables, I don't think there would have been as much backlash. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way that I think about it.
I get that. At the same point, had they come out and said this is a healthy, like, snack or lunch, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the name. This is a healthy lunch. At that point, I'd probably have been there like, okay, now I feel like you're being slightly...
As opposed to what?
Well, then saying this is a healthier. And although it is, maybe not that much of a difference, if it is, then it is. And it still goes back to the point that this is for kids and parents should have a lot more control over what they do and don't eat, because why is this not going at Lunchables itself or just any other
Sure.
thing?
I think both things you're saying could be right at the same time. So I think, yes, parents need to watch what their kids are eating. And one of the things that I give parents advice when they come in and their child is having an issue with weight or health is they say, well, what can I do to get them? Well, stop buying it. That is the advice I would give. But some parents, that's not always feasible. The situations at home in different households is very different. So some single parents working multiple jobs, their kids are really just eating whatever they can buy. The kid is yelling. There's a bad dynamic. All these things do exist. And these days with social media it's having a way different influence when it comes to marketing than it has been in the past, that it's so targeted directly at them, where I think now kids are way more influenced than, let's say, I was growing up watching television commercials. So I think it's always been a problem, and I think we're rightfully villainizing how a lot of these food companies have tricked us into eating refined carbs, a lot of sugar. They told us things were healthy because they were low fat, but instead of feeding us fat, they just fed us a ton more carbs. So like they tricked us for so long that I think anytime someone's innovating in that field, innovate to be better than the stuff that's hurting us, than to just continue on with the same process. I think also YouTubers are kind of disruptors, right? That we're disrupting media. We're doing something different. We're making it better. We're more transparent. The way we're talking right now is way better than the 2-minute segments on television these days, right? That's why people listen. They like that there's less of, there's more parasocial relationship. And when you're going to be a disruptor in media, people expect you to be a disruptor in the food industry if you're entering the food industry. So ideally, like if you're going to say something's healthier, make it healthier. I think there's room for that. I think hopefully that they'll take note of all this feedback and make a healthier lunchly in the future.
And in regards to it as an actual product and the stuff around it, right, is it actually still quite bad? Even though the marketing
I don't like villainizing
healthier.
Food, period.
Yeah.
I like talking about from a factual perspective as opposed to bad and good. When we look at what's a healthy lunch for a kid ideal, it's not that. It's still an ultra-processed food, which we consider generally unhealthy for kids. I mean, as a snack every now and then, okay, I could see that being okay. But making it a regular lunch thing for your kid is going to either get them too few calories, too many calories from saturated fat, too much sodium if they are consuming enough calories. So there's all sorts of issues with it being a true lunch that I would never recommend it for anyone.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis,
Yeah.
as
And I
a
remember
lunch.
back in the day when I was younger, like Lunchables was quite a common lunch I'd be having.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it wasn't like a one-off. Like it was just easy for my mom to just buy that, and I'm just having that like every day.
Yeah.
Bang.
Yeah, and we grew
But
up in a society where like soda was huge.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, the amount of soda I put away
Oh,
growing up, like,
100%.
there's no way that was
Every
healthy.
lunch.
I look back on it like, fuck, what was I doing? Even now, I'll be like, right, hey, put that Coca-Cola
yeah.
away.
Well, here's how smart these companies have gotten. The major soda brands, the sugary soda brands, have realized that consumers here are starting to figure out that this stuff isn't healthy, that it's causing obesity rates to go up, health risks, all that. So what they're doing now is they're going to Africa, they're going to areas, remote areas of South America, and they're trying to get the kids hooked on it early because they feel like they won't know about the negative implications. So they're spending huge advertising dollars in these areas in order to generate profits.
Jesus
that
Christ,
is
that
fucking
is
mental,
insane.
really, isn't
But
it?
surely they realize then
coin.
that no matter what, the time is ticking because
They do, but they're thinking in the now. They got to get their profits in.
Yeah.
Their
Is it
shareholders
not
got to
just
be
like
happy.
worth
so.
it for them to just put it all into R&D and just figure out healthier?
Well, we do
version for
have
it? Which they obviously
soda
did.
with artificial sweeteners, which people also online villainize
Yeah.
aggressively. So.
Oh yeah, you always hear about Diet Coke gives you cancer. That is literally like you always.
yeah,
hear,
yeah, that is
always.
just, yeah.
hear that.
Wait, is that?
Yeah,
tell
that's
me
a good
about
one.
that because there's a what's the name of the ingredient that they always?
Aspartame?
Yes, that's it, and that's what they claim is in Diet Coke. Therefore, you're in with a good chance of cancer. Now, my girlfriend loves Diet Coke, so be careful what you say.
Even you like a
Okay,
cheeky
the threat
Diet
is
Coke.
in.
but yeah.
I'm partial to a Diet Coke.
Okay. If you're drinking water regularly, I would not encourage someone to start drinking Diet Coke to be healthy because it's not a health food.
Right.
But if you're someone who has health risks, who is over-consuming calories, over-consuming simple sugars, if I can get that person to switch over to a diet soda with aspartame or whatever ingredient, there's better ones that I prefer, but let's say aspartame, that's a win. That's called risk reduction. Is it perfect? No. Perfect is getting them to water and to exercise and all these things. But when it comes to real life medicine, perfect is rarely available.